Our Poet Laureate Selection Committee was reactivated by the Town Council to go through the process so a recommendation could be made as to who should be Cobourg's third Poet Laureate. This was as a result of Jill Batson, who's here tonight, submitting a letter of resignation to Council, which was received with regrets at your meeting on Monday, June 27th. So the position of Poet Laureate was advertised, and the public was invited to suggest the names of poets they thought would make a good laureate. 42 people made suggestions, and we think this shows a healthy engagement in our process by the public, and it's an increase compared to the last time our committee went through this process. At that time, 29 people made suggestions, so 42 instead of 29, very good. The list of suggestions that was generated this way included some duplicate names. There were 72 suggestions made, but by the time we eliminated the duplication, we came down to 28 poets. And again, this compared well to the previous time we went through this process when there was 24 names on our long list. The first step in our process was to contact all the poets to tell them that their names had been suggested, which resulted in them sort of self-weeding. Large parts of the list said, well, I don't think I'll let my name put forward. I don't think I could do that. And that reduced these 28 names down to a list of 8 poets who were willing to have their names considered by our committee. Once again, that process produced more names than the previous time. The previous time at that point in the process, we had 4 names on our list. This time we had 8. So again, that's very good. Processing those names through a committee deliberation process, we created our short list. And poets on the short list were interviewed, and they gave a private poetry reading to our committee, which was very enjoyable. And we asked them this time round to, since the position of Poet Laureate involves writing poems for special occasions, we asked them to write a poem specifically for the interview, something about Cobourg or of their choosing. And so that was really nice. We got to hear original poems written about Cobourg. As a result of all this selection process, our committee is recommending that Ted Amston be appointed as the town of Cobourg's third Poet Laureate.
The anarchistic side of poetry challenges all to listen to what is difficult, meditate upon that which we don't understand, and respect the mystery that is at the very center of our experience. The comfort side of poetry reminds us that what is truly important in this world is love and friendship, the rewards of following our bliss, and the endless surprise that greets you when you walk through the door of creativity. The role of poetry, irrespective of its method of delivery, the words in books, the scribbling on walls, the spoken word of language gymnasts, is to speak to the human condition in all its complexity. Poets speak in many tongues, which at times can seem as varied as the number of speakers. Because mystery is at the heart of existence and therefore at the heart of poetry, sometimes even poets don't understand what they are saying. This shouldn't alarm us. Poetry, like science, is a door you open to experience wonder. Wonder pushes aside our daily concerns and existential distractions and puts center stage the fact that we are in the center of something quite magical, at times painful, sometimes terrifying, yet deeply compelling. The health of a town is not solely measured in the conditions of its sidewalks, the number of its pleasure craft, nor the perkiness of its slogans. Cultural health, while not as fundamental to physical health as a condition of the town's sanitary system, is an indication of mental health. People with healthy minds solve problems and improve themselves, their families, and those around them. They recognize without condition that creativity, play, the slogan, "None of us is as smart and strong as all of us," is correct. The role of Poet Laureate within the public sphere, I believe, should be to surprise, entertain, explain, remember, enchant, indeed challenge the community. Poetry is not an eccentric addition, a bullet point in a secondary list of cultural attractions, nor is it a forgotten language. Its presence and strength in the community indicates a town's cultural blood flow. I'm pleased to say that Cobourg's red blood count is quite good. Let me read what I have here. Cobourg Poetry Facts. 90 poets a year read in Cobourg. Over 900 poems are shared with public audiences. The Cobourg Poetry Workshop, a gathering of poets and wordsmiths, gather twice during the month to conduct a workshop and to provide free public readings for the citizens of Cobourg. James Pickersgill's colorful little folded packets of poetry, under the masthead of Poetry Zone, during the past 2 years and 9 months, has published almost 1,000 poems. Because of this strength and display of interest, other organizations and individuals are stepping forward locally to promote literary events in town. Cobourg is reaching a critical mass, I believe. The outside world wants to be part of events here. Well-known poets and their publishing houses are requesting the privilege of launching their books here. National poet laureates and others of international stature want to read in Cobourg. My list does not include what is going on in the schools. Teachers such as James Martin at CDCI West actively promote poetry well beyond the demands of the curriculum. I stand in the long shadow of Cobourg's first poet laureate, Eric Winter, a man with a voice, a demeanor, an intelligence so enviable, so well aged, he has but to read a menu and women swoon. Cobourg's second poet laureate, Jill Batson, displaying more brain cells than the supercomputer, proved that the challenge was on. The short term of her tenure is a disappointment. With my appointment, I wish to disarm you immediately and alert you that Dr. Zeus is definitely in the house. A sense of play and fun is a sense of play and fun is afoot. But equally, let me remind you and bring you close and tell you poetry is the true language of our humanity, the plaintive call of human souls accepting their final separateness, but is also a communal murmur of satisfaction with the joys of physical being. And overwhelmingly, it is a call for true contact between us all. Let nothing, not wealth, education, status, opinion, even the lack of understanding, stand between you and the person beside you. We all share in the bounty of our being when we speak. Language is for sharing, as is poetry. The price of the game is simply the energy of our words and our attention. Your worship, standing in the shower, you with some soap suds and no one listening, you have only to open your mouth, gargle some words in ways you have never heard before that make you laugh and cry, and you too will be taking your first steps towards becoming a poet. In closing, don't let my personal branding distract you. I stand before you a representative of all that is poetic in Cobourg and wish you wonder-filled days, bright with caring residents, yet deeply respectful of the mystery into which we have been born.